and Isaiah Rashad is back. Uh, been a while, 5 years since his last official album
Yeah.
release, The Sun's Tirade. He really popped off what, like 2012, if I'm remembering. He had that
Um,
first single with like Juicy J.
is that when
What
that
was
was?
the
I
name of
mean,
that?
he signed to TD in 13, and Sylvia Demo came out in 2014. So I had no idea who it was until he signed the TD. He was the him and SZA were the second wave of TD signings after the core black hippie guys, and it was a big, kind of like a big to do. It's like Isaiah Rashad, really talented rapper out of Tennessee. You can make some connections to Kendrick in terms of his artistry. It makes sense that he signed the TDE. Here he is. And there's a lot more hype about him than SZA when they both signed around the same time. SZA took a long time to kind of get that TD buzz going until Control came out, 3 years later. But Isaiah Rashad, I feel like really hit the ground running when Sylvia Demo came out. Um, and then he had Sun started a few years later, which was obviously the long-awaited debut, and then he just disappeared, honestly. And
Mhm.
we know now that that was due to some struggles with substance abuse. Alcoholism runs in his family, and he was quite frank about that. And I think we were kind of unaware of what was going on because album delays and confusion about future music is not out of place in the TDE camp. We all know that well across the whole spectrum of the label. So we just thought Isaiah Rashad was like anyone else. It's like, oh well, you know, they run a they run a tight ship there at TDE. Top Dog's not going to let anything mediocre come out. So one day, then no, actually no. Isaiah Rashad had to do some soul searching, and now he's finally back with that second album. But I mean, were you like a big fan of that early stuff?
No, no, not very much. I think this was probably the first time I really like listened to one of his albums. And the thing is, I feel like for some reason, maybe it's because I've ran back Control so much. I
Mm,
feel like he's been more present than he has been. I also feel like his name is just like a name I'm very aware of. Obviously he was on SZA's album Control 2017 on Pretty Little Birds, but even just looking through like the features he's had since his last album, there's a couple, but really like not much that we have reviewed, and kind of these like I want to say no names, but people who are obviously like on the come up here. Childish Major back in 2017,
yeah.
we did a
Oh
track
yeah.
with him, someone like that. Um, last year he did a track with Woody Smalls on his album. Like he just kind of drops into these projects, and uh, I was really impressed with this man. I thought The House is Burning was really strong. I think the first half I probably enjoyed a little bit more than the second half. It trailed off by the end. It is 16 tracks and like I think 16 tracks, like 46 minutes long or something like that. But I thought I was really impressed with what I heard in the beginning. Were you tuned into him from the get? You said like
Oh,
13, 14, right?
come on. Was I tuned into him? Please. Um, no, yeah, I was there when he. I remember when he got signed. Of course, listen to Sylvia Demo. Like songs like R.I.P. Kevin Miller, Shot You Down. Those are the highlights for me off that. But I didn't really like Sun's Tirade. Sun's Tirade has a lot of fans, and because of that, this second Isaiah Rashad full length was hotly anticipated. I wasn't anticipating it to that degree. Certainly very interested in it as his status as a TD artist, but like um, it's not like I listen to a lot of those early cuts that I like all the time or really at all. So like I didn't have like large expectations, and listening to this, the house is burning, it's still kind of more of what he's been doing. I think his rapping ability is just kind of on the upward curve, but I still don't love it the way I love stuff from Q or J Rock or Kendrick, of course. And I think that's just kind of like the flavor of Isaiah's rapping. Isaiah's rapping, like, is what it is, but like it's still really good, and the production's very thoughtful,
Mhm.
and there is a lot of really witty wordplay and introspective lyricism, especially because we know Zay has a lot to reflect on this album. But it's still not like my favorite hip hop. So yeah, like let's seeing all the hype, like was it the song R.I.P. Young was getting a lot
Mhm.
of love on Twitter. I like the song, but like It's not like one of my favorite rap songs of the year or anything, you know? So I think it's more just kind of appreciation for the craft more than like being a big fan of the work.
Yeah. R.I.P. Young was one of the tracks that I wrote down right away. My first listen, I played it back. It's really, I feel like it's like the slowed down track, but he just flows really effortlessly over it, and it just really stood out to me as like an early favorite. And then, just kind of like jumping around. There's quite a few features on here. You mentioned J Rock and Jay Worthy on like True Story, but a very similar song, a couple tracks after R.I.P. Young, Headshots, almost the exact same beat, but also a track that stood out to me with 4R De Locals. Maybe is that four De Locals? I don't want
Yeah.
to mispronounce
Mhm.
that, but I thought that was also another standout. It, near the second half, like SZA comes in with Black, and then it kind of, I felt like kind of fizzled out, but
Yeah.
the first half I found pretty interesting for the most part. I thought it was really strong.
Yeah. Yeah. At the end, I like 9-3 freestyle, just as the name suggests, just kind of a simple song. But like, that's the thing. It's like when and like he talked about this, he did a lot of press for this album. He's like, I'll have some more, quieter stuff and then I'll do some bangers. But like, the Isaiah Rashad definition of banger is just not my banger cup of tea. Like his bangers are from the Garden with Uzi, and I actually think Uzi sounds pretty good on this. But like the hook is like really boring. What is it? Came through bussin' or whatever it is, just repetitive.
Something like
Like Lay
that,
with Show
yeah.
with Duke Deuce. Again, I like Duke Deuce, but like it's kind of just not that cool. I think a song like Headshots, as you said, is where he's at his best. That reminds me a lot of Shot You Down off Sylvia demo.
Hmm.
That hook combined with the rapping, combined with the verses, sounds really good. I think that is probably where I would hone in on like what kind of songs I like from Isaiah Rashad. So definitely requires a lot of time with the album though because of the lyricism and stuff,
Mhm.
But to me, I wasn't like immediately grabbed except for a few songs. So like I said, I just kind of appreciate it more than love it.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the thing. It's nice, I think, to have him back and
Yeah,
working, and
absolutely.
I think probably better things to come, but still a fairly strong showing for his first album in five
Mhm.
years. So,
And
um,
I definitely like him more than Sun's tirade, which I found kind of dull, honestly. So he's improving. He's going, and just happy he's back more than anything else.